The 2004 draft is one of the most memorable drafts in NFL history. Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger were the top three quarterbacks taken off the board. While there was drama at the top, Big Ben waited patiently. But he didn't have to wait long. The Steelers drafted Roethlisberger with the 11th overall pick.
Hey, Coach. Absolutely. All right, Coach, thanks. Take care.
What's the deal?
It's good. Let's turn it in right now.
Yeah! Black and Gold gambled on Big Ben, hoping he could lead the franchise back to Super Bowl glory. It turned out to be one of the best decisions the Steelers have ever made. Roethlisberger went 13-0 in his first year as a starter, earning Offensive Rookie of the Year. He topped that the next year, leading the Steelers to their 5th Super Bowl championship. It was soon after that Roethlisberger would face some real adversity. He was seriously injured in an off-season motorcycle accident. He had an emergency appendectomy right before the season started and then had the worst year of his young career. Then the Steelers took a chance on a first-time head coach in Mike Tomlin. That revived Roethlisberger's career. Big Ben made his first Pro Bowl in his 4th season, and after agreeing to a $100 million contract, led the Steelers to their 6th Super Bowl victory, making the most clutch throw of his career, a back of the end zone pinpoint strike to Santonio Holmes that proved to be the difference. 2 years later, Roethlisberger and the Steelers fell short in the Super Bowl. But it's been Big Ben that has been the consistent driving force for Pittsburgh. The Steelers have never had a losing season since he was drafted. It wasn't always pretty, but when the game was on the line, Big Ben delivered way more often than not. And while his illustrious 18-year NFL career is now over, his legacy is forever secure. A legacy that will be recognized and celebrated in Canton.
Our thanks to Hakeem Dermish for kind of giving us the timeline for Ben Roethlisberger, who took to social media today to announce his retirement. We got Pete Prisco joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. Pete, what do you think about Big Ben? Not necessarily surprising, but it is official.
Yeah, it's not surprising. He's been talking about this, and we had this, don't forget, we had the retirement game about a month ago in Pittsburgh, so it's not a shock. It was time for him to walk away. He wanted to spend more time with his family. You get it. You understand it. Is he the same player he was early in his career? Absolutely not. His skills have eroded. He can't drive the ball down. He couldn't drive the ball down the field like he used to be able to, but he's had a magnificent career, and his next stop in terms of football will be in Canton.
And when you think about that career, let's just say I'm asking you 2 or 3 things to cherry pick out of that. How do you best describe that 18-year career for Big Ben?
Well, I think it's tough. I mean, that's the thing that stands out about him. You can, you know, close your eyes, and if somebody says, bring up a Ben Roethlisberger play, you're going to think about him bouncing off 2 or 3 defensive linemen who are bigger than him and getting outside the pocket and keeping his head up and making a throw down the field. And early in his career, he had the big arm. Remember, his yards per attempt was way up early in his career when he was a guy who could sling the ball down the field. And you know, there's kind of a misnomer about his first Super Bowl in that he was a game manager and that he wasn't a guy who could throw the ball. You know, in that playoff run, he had 7 touchdown passes and 1 pick leading into the Super Bowl that year. Now, he threw 2 in the Super Bowl, but he actually had a big part of making that team get to the Super Bowl with his ability to throw the football. And I remember being in Denver when they won that game to get there and coming off the field and talking to some of those Steeler players, and they were just in awe of what he did that year. So I think when you look at him, he's one of those guys that probably gets the reputation as being a gunslinger, wild at times, you know, tough to harness. But when you really look at it, he was a much better passer, I think, than a lot of people give him credit for.
Enjoy nothing but winning seasons. Of course, a couple of Super Bowl victories, 1 Super Bowl loss. He paired with Bill Cowher, early Hall of Famer, Mike Tomlin for the rest of his career. That dynamic, how would you best describe the Mike Tomlin-Ben Roethlisberger tandem?
Well, Mike Tomlin's a great coach, and will soon be, when he retires, he will be a Hall of Fame coach as well. And I think the dynamic was outstanding. I mean, they seemed to have a great relationship. The problem with Ben over his career is he didn't always have a great relationship with his offensive coordinators. And there were times where he didn't like the offense and the way they played. And in most of those situations, he was right. I mean, they didn't always cater to what he could do, and I think they that was a problem at times. So, but the relationship between Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger was always one of respect. And one thing about Ben Roethlisberger, as he matured and got older, he became a different player in the building. I mean, early on in his career, and Steelers players would tell you this, and I think a lot of the guys that still play with him would tell you that he had morphed and changed early in his career. He was kind of difficult, and he was kind of cocky and kind of arrogant. He'd probably tell you that. And he became a different guy in terms of what he was inside the building and what he was to his teammates. And I think that maturity really helped him.
Hall of Famer, Pete?
Oh, slam dunk. First ballot. I mean, he's 5th all-time in passing yards. He's 8th all-time in touchdown passes. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He's a walk-in. I don't think there should be any question about it. And he will be, by the way. I don't sit here and say, oh, that guy should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. When you have those kind of numbers and 2 Super Bowl rings, you're going to Canton, and he should go to Canton. Great player, Hall of Fame player for sure.
All right, so no doubt for you there, but there's going to be doubts about what the Steelers do without Big Ben. What do you think about Pittsburgh at the moment as they tackle this offseason now without their quarterback?
It's funny, all these teams in the league right now, all desperate to find the franchise quarterback. You're talking about Pittsburgh, Denver, Washington. They're all good teams that if they find the right quarterback can be Super Bowl contenders next season. And who's that going to be? Is it Mason Rudolph in Pittsburgh? I don't think so. Is it Dwayne Haskins? I don't think so. They have to find a quarterback. Maybe they draft one. Maybe they develop one. They should find a way, if they're going to draft one, to get Kenny Pickett. That would be a great pick, right there out of Pitt. He's right in their backyard. It would really make sense for them if they want to go that route. If they want to try and get a veteran, nose around Russell Wilson. See what you can have to give up to try and get him to come to Pittsburgh. I don't think he's leaving Seattle, but why not ask? Same for Aaron Rodgers. If Deshaun Watson's situation gets cleared up, nose around about that. Because there's going to be teams looking for quarterbacks. Washington, same situation. Carolina, another team, same situation. Denver, clearly, and they hope they can get Rodgers now that they hired Nate Hackett. But I think all these teams are going to be fighting for the quarterbacks. And sometimes, if you can't get one of those veterans, you better be prepared to draft one and develop them. And I think this is a decent quarterback class. Not a great quarterback class, but a decent one.
So when you surveyed, you brought up all the teams, and we talked about Denver this morning because of the breaking news with Nathaniel Hackett. When you look at the teams that are a quote-unquote quarterback away, then, Pete, do you think Pittsburgh has the most weapons, receiver, Najee Harris, and where do you rank Pittsburgh just offensively if you're a potential quarterback going somewhere else?
Well, I think the offensive line's been an issue for them for a couple of years, but remember, they started 2 rookies last year, so they're going to be that much better next year. And I think that's that's been the calling card for the Steelers over their history when they've had success. They've had good offensive lines. When they've struggled, they've had bad offensive lines. And, the last couple of years, it hasn't been great. They struggled last year because they had 2 rookies starting on the offensive line. But I think both those guys, Green and Moore, the left tackle and the center, will both be good players. So it's going to be a nice mix. You have weapons outside. You have a young tight end that you like. And you have that running game. So I think Pittsburgh's one of those teams, if you get the right quarterback, they were a playoff team this year. If you get the right quarterback and learn to stop the run on defense, now they had some injuries over there this year with Tuitt and Alualu, but those guys will be back. But if you can stop the run and really put that quarterback in there and build it around him, I think you can go with a young rookie quarterback and still make a playoff push.
All right, speaking of rankings, one more, and I'll let you go on this. Ranking the 04 class. For you, Roethlisberger, Rivers, Manning, what's that going to be like for you?
That's tough for me. I mean, look, I think Rivers was the best player of the 3, but I think you have to look at the rings, and Rivers didn't get one, and Roethlisberger got 2, and Manning got 2. So if you're going to start by ranking that, I think you go Roethlisberger would be 1. Have to give it to Manning at 2 because he has the 2 rings, and he had the 2 fourth-quarter comebacks in the Super Bowl. People forget that. And then Rivers, but they're close. I mean, if you had taken Rivers and stuck him in Pittsburgh, who knows? He probably would have won 2 rings as well. So it's real close for me. I think Rivers was the better quarterback of the 3, but it's hard to rank him ahead of those 2 guys when they have the rings.
Pete Prisco there with the breaking news. Pete, certainly appreciated as always. Again, class of 04 there with Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and now Ben Roethlisberger. All of those guys sticking on the other side of their playing careers. The numbers, the notes, as we see here again. 18 seasons with one franchise, 2 Super Bowl wins, 6-time Pro Bowler and Rookie of the Year. By the way, that led the team to most wins ever by a rookie. We're going to take another break. We've got more analysts coming up right now. The Pick Six Pod going to be joining us, including host Will Brinson and Ryan Wilson. We'll be talking about that on the other side of the break.